What's up? Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome on in. It's Pro Wrestling Weekly live right here at the Takedown on SI. We're at a new day, a new time today, man. It's what a weird week, Blake. How's it going?
Yeah, doing well, Zach. We both had some scheduling things, and we were like, can we try to pull this off on our usual Thursday? And we got to that, and we're like, yeah, probably not. So that's all right. That gives us an extra day to digest whatever else is out there that we want to talk about. There's always something to talk about. So
That's for sure. That's for sure. Thanks everybody for being here today. We certainly appreciate it. Blake, something stood out to me in wrestling this week, and it was not a thing. A person, a star, stood out to me this week, and I had some wild thoughts about Oba Femi and just how far WWE should go with that guy based on what has happened the last 2 weeks for him on Raw. Like, when's the last time do you think that you've kind of heard that kind of buzz for a superstar entrance? Like, you didn't know Oba Femi was coming out, but you kind of assumed that he would, obviously, because it's Brock Lesnar. They're doing the match at WrestleMania. And man, I thought there was like a tangible like hum in the crowd, like, dude, the big star is coming out. The big star's coming out. And then when his music hit, big pop. Like, it turned my head a little bit. It made me think about like the reactions that Braun Breaker gets or the reactions that Gunther gets. Good, but I thought Femi's were better at this point. Like, what have you made of kind of his official introduction now into the main roster and like, you know, the main storyline sphere with Brock Lesnar?
yeah, it's pretty remarkable how I think what felt like the two sort of, to me at least, like surefire can't miss like NXT guys in Oba and Trick. I said I just think they're made for the main roster. And you look at like the reactions that both of these guys have gotten, and I think it's just fascinating because we don't always see that. But I think the fact that we have seen it transition so well tells you all you need to know. Like, that means like it is you cannot miss on this. And Oba is a different level than Trick, and like he's been getting great reactions, but this is a guy I think that very clearly it's all there, right? Like, it's just the even it's like the tone of the theme, like all that kind of stuff. Like it just, everything works out perfectly when you're talking about this is the guy you're presenting. And I think, again, it's the look, it's the presentation, like all these things matter. But I've been meaning to, and of course I've been busy with the March Madness aspect, which, come on, April. I've been meaning, like, I'm going to write a column at some point, probably in the next couple of days, at the Takedown on SI, saying what I hope WWE understands, and that is like, you are at a point right now where you have to go all in. Like, you cannot just pull back now that you're seeing how this is going with him, right? You can't just say, well, we had 6 months worth of plans, and we're just going to have him just hanging around with, no offense, Kit Wilson. You had a great interview with our own Riccacino here at the Takedown on SI. Tremendous stuff.
Up right now.
But you can't just have him hanging around with nothing to do, right? And just interacting with random people. There has to be a dedicated plan. And I think whatever your plan was for this guy for the next 6 months, you need to start readjusting some ideas there, because he has to beat Brock at WrestleMania. They have to capitalize on this, because I don't want him to be, and I'm not like saying this is to that level, right? But you remember the time where like Braun Strowman was just like, he was the guy at the time, right? It wasn't necessarily this. It's a different situation, but he had all the momentum. Everything was behind it. And all you needed was that just signature kind of win, right? Mm-hmm. And every single time, it never happened. And you're just like, this is your first chance with this guy to this level. To what I think, Zach, in all honesty, you could argue like maybe the most anticipated match at WrestleMania. Like, the two title matches are great, right? But this right here feels like it's like, okay, like this is getting the biggest reaction maybe. And so you got to.
I mean, you at least have to think about it. Like, I don't know, look, I'm sure I know that there's a lot of obvious planning, writing, scripting. I mean, it's a huge corporate machine, right? So there's marketing involved, and there's design involved, and all like that. That's all the real thing. But if you're Paul Levesque and you're sitting there and you're comparing like your two up and coming guys on Raw, Braun Breaker and Oba Femi, like, and it's not a knock on Breaker. It's more of just like putting over Femi, and like to me, it's like at this point, I think I'm green lighting that pivot. Like if the plan was to kind of coronate Breaker in 2026, it's like you gotta kind of look Femi's way because he bulldozed his way in there and is getting the crowd reactions. Like, I don't know. I like Braun Breaker, but he doesn't get that kind of buzz, the hum that Oba Femi does. There's like an authentic, sense of being over with Femi, and Breaker is a little bit more, produced. He's more Roman Reigns than Daniel Bryan, right? So I think it's real interesting. And if you're Triple H, you kind of have a tough decision to make, because I think prior to this, I don't think Oba was going to be a forgotten about guy, obviously, but Breaker was certainly positioned as, this is the next big thing.
Well, speaking of the next big thing, so that's a little bit of my worry, is that if your initial plan was sort of like, okay, we see this guy we're bringing up, we know we're going to sort of make him feel like one of those guys too, and yet we still feel like we can sort of sacrifice him a bit to Brock Lesnar to get to Brock's final match potentially at SummerSlam, right? You want to build up Brock so he's good to go for what, just again, we have no idea if they get there, but based on how they've done things, you would have to assume that is a decent chance that Brock could potentially have a last match at SummerSlam this year because it's in Minneapolis and all this other stuff. Now, they may see like, we don't say, Brock, we're not doing that because we want you to keep coming back again and again and again. So maybe they don't want to do that. But I would think, which Gunther's a different conversation here, but it's like you would think that if you're building towards that match, and I still see a lot of, if you had to make a prediction right now, I would have to think that's probably a high choice of possibilities for SummerSlam, just given the story they've told with Gunther and all that. Then you would think they probably want him to win. And again, maybe that was the initial thought, was that, okay, here's a chance to kind of reestablish Brock. He had the very unceremonious elimination at the Royal Rumble that just meant absolutely nothing, it seems. Yeah. And so how do you reestablish him? You reestablish him by beating this guy here, right? And so I think the problem is, and it was just brought up by Atlasphere in the chat, and this has been on my mind for 2 days now, Opa's just dominating the guy right now. So to me, the logic says that Brock's got to get something back in this thing. And if this keeps being the theme, is that Oba just every single time is getting the upper hand on Brock, then of course you have one of two directions, right? Either Brock gets his revenge, or they're like, you know what? We are going to go all the way with this guy, and we're going to show you that not even Brock Lesnar has an answer for Oba Femi. And if that is the case, then I think you're certainly looking at a scenario where he can win at WrestleMania. And then I'm not going to lie to you. I think at that point, I'm not saying he faces Roman in May, but like, if you're looking at the biggest matches you can do after that, dude, holy cow. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine that for a SummerSlam or something like that? I mean, that would be, they love their SummerSlams for guys that all of a sudden become the next guy, right? We've seen it with Orton. We've seen it with Brock. Like, so maybe.
I think, yeah, no, I mean, like, look, if the plan was to just do this match, put Brock over, I mean, I think that was a mistake even then, but it certainly is something you have to look at now and go, okay, we need to rethink this. We have something here. And to me, it's more than just like lightning in a bottle too. Like, I think with Braun Strowman, there was this element of like, well, okay, he's popular. He's doing all those like stunt things with like pulling cars around and like flipping over ambulances and stuff. And it's getting over. And there's a shelf life to something like that, you know?
Yeah.
And so you have the option like, hey, go with it while it's hot for sure. And they arguably could have and should have done that. But I think that does have a shelf life. With Oba Femi, like he's not doing like gimmicky stuff out there. He's doing stuff that you could sell in a pro wrestling ring for years and years and years with him as a top guy. And he can talk really well. I mean, he's a good talker, especially for his, you know, level in the business and how long he's been in it for. So I think he's more than just kind of this flash in the pan popular guy. Like if you keep going with this, you could have something significant. Got a couple more questions for you on this, but let's set the table here for the show. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly. We are live with this show. It's our flagship show on the Takedown on SI on YouTube every single week. Usually we're live on Thursdays at 12 Eastern, talking with you about the news of the week in pro wrestling. This week, a little bit of a scheduling snafu, so we had to move the show to Friday, but we're glad you're here, and we thank you for being here. If you're in the chat, please say hi. We got Sean in there right now. Sean says here, Oba is such a freaking star in the making. What's up, guys? Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you, Sean. Sean also says, if Brock wins, I'm going to throw something at my TV. You and a lot of other people, I think, Sean, you and a lot of other people. If you're watching live and you can hit like on the video, we certainly appreciate that. It helps us with the old YouTube algorithm. Thank you in advance. Also, if you're not subscribed to the Takedown on SI on YouTube, make sure you do that. We've got all sorts of stuff dropping throughout the week. As Blake said, Rick interviewed Kip Wilson. That'll be dropping soon up on the channel. There's an interview that I did with Steve Austin there. Tekla. A new interview is going to be there soon with Eddie Kingston. SP3 talked with Eddie Kingston ahead of Global Wars. So it's all there. And so you're not going to want to miss the stuff that we do. We regularly have some of the top AEW stars and WWE stars in exclusive interviews on our channel. So hit subscribe there so that you don't miss anything. As I mentioned, I got the live chat open. So Atlasphere's in there, as I said. Sean's in there. Others. If you want to make sure that your comment gets read live on the air, drop us a super chat. It's a little tip in the tip jar for us. We certainly appreciate it. And thank you in advance. So, Blake, you started going down the path that I want to take this Oba conversation here in our first segment. But I think we both agree you got to put Oba Femi over at WrestleMania. If you didn't before, you absolutely need to now. But then the question is, you know, how far do you go when you look at the landscape of guys that you have at the top of the men's division? You know, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and then you kind of have the up and comers who are budding guys for that spot. Braun Breaker, Gunther. You know, where does Oba Femi fit in that hierarchy? Like you mentioned, I put him against Roman Reigns right away. Is that because does he have that kind of upside where he's the guy that you can attach the whole company to at some point?
Well, and I do think he does. And I also think like when I use sort of like do it immediately, I'm almost saying it in WWE's time scale, which immediately means like, you know, the next 6 months probably, right? Like, because it's like you think about how sometimes things can move at a bit of a glacial type pace. So that's the thing, right? And you're like, they can do whatever they need to do to set this up. Again, it's not going to happen right away because you're only going to save something like that for the biggest shows. And I think that is where I kind of settle in now, where I'm like, okay, it's WrestleMania, and then sure, you've got big shows in the middle there. You're going to have some Saturday night's main events. You'll have Backlash, you know, Clash in Italy and all that, but like that's not headlined by a Roman Reigns and Oba Femi, right? It's more like a SummerSlam, a 2-night SummerSlam. So that's months down the road. But I think that's where, to me, like it's all about timing here. Because if he comes out of WrestleMania and he wins and he is the most talked about thing coming out of it, you know, I mean, 4 months is a long time. So what do you do if you have decided we are willing to take this gamble? And let's say we're going to just catapult this guy to the top, because if we don't, eventually you run out of ideas. You run out of things to do, right? And so if he's just beaten the beast, well, who's the next most logical opponent, right? I mean, it's not, and I'll just pick a random guy, like it's not El Grande Americano. Like, he's not the next person in line, right? It's got to be somebody that, to me, is of the same level of Brock or bigger than Brock, because now he's already established that this is where he's at. So why should he be going down and then going back up? Like, it doesn't make any sense. That's where I think sometimes you can miss the boat, where it's like, okay, this guy just got a big win, but, we don't really have anything for him to do for the next little bit, so let's just kind of keep him occupied. Well, then you're just kind of, it's overexposure at that point, because then you're like, okay, well, yeah, we don't really have the high of what we had when we saw him beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. So I think that's the biggest challenge you have here, is like, you have to keep that high going. And we've seen too many times, right? Whether it's, and this is not, I mean, think about when like a babyface, right, wins the belt. He wins the big championship. How do you keep the high going? That's always the biggest issue that we've seen, I feel like a lot of promoters have throughout the years, is that what do you do after you've reached that, big emotional high, which for Oba Femi, this would be a big emotional high to beat a Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. So I think there's fair questions to ask. If this is their plan, which it should be, how quickly do you put him into that picture? And do you risk pulling back a little bit on that and just being like, okay, 2027's his year, right, to be the guy at WrestleMania? That's a long time. So
that is an eternity, like in pro, like WrestleMania to WrestleMania, like,
yeah.
But here's the thing, like, I'll play devil's advocate. The chat, I'm sure, is going to light me up on this. Is it possible that, because you said, as you said, timing is everything, and so not only do you have to strike while the iron's hot, but like the company has to be ready for you, when that timing has to be right also. So knowing that you have to have the stars align to kind of create, the next big thing, did they push too hard with Oba Femi? Because Braun Breaker's in the mix, because you still have Roman Reigns there, and you still have CM Punk around, and Seth is still around. Like, I just, can it really be Oba Femi's show when you have all of that going on around him? So did they strike too early?
So here's my thinking on that. And I think from like a business standpoint, there has never been a better time for WWE to almost, and I'm going to say reset, but that's too strong of a word. But I almost think this is your time in terms of like a transition where, like, okay, we have a lot of stars that are getting up there, right? That are still very over, but those schedules, like Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, like all these guys, the schedules are not, obviously every single week anymore. Mm-hmm. So because you're so protected financially now with WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia, with all this other stuff, like all this other money you're making from going to Italy and all these site fees or whatever they want to call them now, I think there's never been a better time to now take a chance to where you're not really, I mean, look, ticket sales matter, but they're not really, not the lifeblood anymore, Zach. Like, it's sort of like they could do anything they wanted up to next year's WrestleMania, and they'd still have enough money coming in from that alone to be perfectly fine. And so I think that's where I'm like, it may feel drastic, but if there's ever been a time to do it, it is where the company is so financially secure in all of their streaming deals and all of their media, like everything. They are so secure in all of that, that even if you're thinking, okay, let's use Oba and let's even use Trick for an example. We're going to start putting guys like this in the most featured spots we can, and we're going to see what happens. And if they sink, then oh well. We can always fall back on the guys that have gotten us there, right? But if they swim and all of a sudden, this buzz is there, then you at least have taken that chance and said, okay, this was worth the risk. And I think something else to keep in mind here, and someone brought this up earlier, which I thought was a very good point. Now that you're doing this whole 1 hour of WrestleMania on ESPN or whatever, this is a great time to put guys like that. It's going to feel odd, right? Like not having it on like, I don't want to call it like WrestleMania proper, but like, what if you did Oba versus Brock on ESPN?
Oh, I think that's a possibility. I think that's
what I mean? Like, think about like that is also something where you're like, okay, this is another one of those tiny things you can do to really magnify this entire thing. So I'm not against them like just taking a shot and saying we're going to go all the way very quickly with someone like this, because they do have enough guys I think you can quote unquote fall back on, even though I don't really think that that's necessarily a problem. I'm not against that idea just because I think now's the time to take risks if you're WWE, because you have really no issues to think of when it comes to how that risk, even if there's a 2% drop off in the audience, was like, I'm not really into this and it's not working out like we thought. Who cares? So
it's well said, because like you said, you have to at some point, you're gonna have to go with someone new at some point, whether it's Trick or Oba or Braun Breaker or someone else. Like you've got to, and you kind of seen that turnover a little bit in the women's division, like more so I think than the men's. What used to be a division of just Charlotte and Becky and Bayley now has other key players in it, Bianca and Tiffany Stratton, and Liv Morgan, Stephanie Vaquer, Io Sky, Rhea Ripley to an extent. Like, that's I think what that type of transition can look like, and it's pretty cool. Like when it happens. Sean says here in the chat, it's hard to push them all, but they can make it work. And there's certainly enough television time, Blake. There's certainly enough hours in the week to fit this in. But we'll watch it. We'll watch it and see. I am fully expecting some kind of heat segment, on Raw, like in the coming weeks. I think they're in. Are they in MSG on Monday?
Yeah. So you've got to do something there, right? Like it's got to be something big.
So it's got to be something big there. And I think, if you're a diehard Oba Femi fan, you're hoping that he just gets destroyed by Brock on one of these Raws, so that the formula of WWE doesn't haunt you going into WrestleMania. We'll have full Raw coverage up at the Takedown on SI on Monday, like we always do. Make sure to check that out. And I'm sure Oba Femi will be a hot topic. All right, Blake, we don't delve too much into NXT on here on the show. Occasionally here and there when there's a PLE or a big news story, we do. But we did not talk about this in the old production meeting to start the show. So if not, throw it back. Did you see or read about the Sol Ruca Zarya angle from the show this week?
So, believe it or not, I actually am usually ahead on NXT.
Really?
I am not this week, but there was someone I read, as I do each day when this person gives me their thoughts on a particular segment. And I saw the heading for this person's particular section on this, and I will read it word for word here, Mr. Zach Haydorn. Swing and miss. is what I gathered. So I have not seen the full segment yet. I've seen a few highlights and such, but I haven't watched the full NXT. Again, I'm a couple days behind this week. But I'm curious as to why you thought that, because I'm going to go back and watch it probably this afternoon when I finally get a break.
So it sounds like me and Sean are going to do some fighting here. Because Sean says here, that was a very good promo segment.
I see that.
Sol Ruca is great. Look, I think Sol Ruca is really great. This segment I thought was just an abomination of a pro wrestling segment.
Wow.
Like it, you had this storyline going for what, a year, probably, maybe even a little bit more than that. Zarya and Sol Ruca, the oddball tag team, that becomes great friends, and they actually put in the elbow grease to like tell the story over a long term. You know, it wasn't like this quick thing where they put them together and then Zarya turned really quick. It was, they gave it time to breathe. They gave time for the audience to connect with them as a team so that when the turn happens, it matters. The thing of it is, though, throughout the entire, like Sol Ruca is the ultimate babyface, so she obviously had to be kind of the good guy coming out of this, and Zarya the heel. Except throughout this, there are like just little parts of the story where I'm like, man, Sol Ruca is being kind of mean, like to Zarya. Like she really does get all the opportunities before Zarya does. Like that's kind of weird. And yeah, Zarya is kind of being weird about it, but like I don't know, it's odd. And I just felt that like Sol Ruca wasn't playing that right, knowing what was going to happen down the road. And sure enough, this week on the show, you have like a major kind of moment where they're finally in the ring together. They're opposite each other. They're cutting a promo. And Sol Ruca, by the Performance Center audience, is getting booed as the babyface. Zarya getting cheered. And it's just like, I couldn't help but think that like, I don't know that the people in charge of WWE know what a good guy is anymore, because Sol Ruca, when she was talking about like the situation with Zarya, was she was like, she felt really privileged to me. She kind of was fake crying. She like, there was like a little bit of a dismissiveness to her. She didn't come across as very genuine. And then on the Zarya side of things, who's the heel, was more passionate and had you kind of nodding along going, all right, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I can see why you'd be upset about that. And so now you have this feud that you've been working on for a year. You got a big match coming up at Stand and Deliver, and the safest crowd that you have is flipping on the segment. I thought it was an absolute disaster. And the headline is, you got to be better with your good guys. They have to actually be good guys. And watching Sol Ruca, I'm like, of course she's a natural babyface. She's got the Soul Snatcher move, great look. And she, and she has played a good babyface a lot on the show. But man, it's like, as soon as like the writing team got their talons in her, all like the likable attributes just went out the table. And that was on full display during this promo.
Well, without even seeing it, I'll say this. Like, I felt like they missed an opportunity. This was months ago when I'm like, I almost think they have to call her up now, because I think the more you kept her in this story that is dragged on, as you said, for, over a year now.
Yeah.
Literally, I can think like probably last summer, we're thinking, okay, the turn's coming. That's like 8 months ago, and you're thinking, oh yeah, turn's about to come. Never happened. And I think that the one thing that's always bothered me is I don't know that I've ever seen like Sol Ruca just be all that upset whenever they've had their bickering and they're arguing, right? Like she's never really come out of it as like someone who's
doesn't sell it. Yeah. Yep.
She's not affected by it that much, except for within the moment. Like she's almost like she's a little more perturbed, like, and a little like inconvenienced by the argument, more so than like actual, man, I can't even wrestle tonight because I'm thinking so much about my friendship with Zarya and where things are. It's never affected her in the ring, like, and all that. So I think that was one of the things I had more of a problem with, and kind of without even seeing this yet. Like I'm like visualizing and I'm like, okay, so basically now is the time where you turn it on to where it's like, this has affected me to this point, when we never really got that sense. And like you said, there were even times I remember watching, and again, time runs together, but where I'm just like, Sol Ruca seems like she's the one who's really being like, she's being the asshole here. Like, what's going on? Like, and we're supposed to feel sorry for like, and so I think that's it. It's like Zarya was never really in a position where you felt like anything she was doing was really like that over the line. It was almost like, well, you would expect someone to do this if this was how the interaction had gone, or this was how it had played out, right? So in all honesty, there was a point like not long ago where I'm thinking, they're going to try this. They're going to turn Sol Ruca, and she's going to be the one who is the heel. But like they've done it the complete opposite way, to where now Zarya is the badass. And so guess what's going to happen in St. Louis? You know what's going to happen in St. Louis. So this is like Cody Randy in a different sense, where it's like eventually you want to see like Zarya unleashed here. And when that happens, people are going to cheer for it. So
100%. Like you. I'm real. We'll circle back on this next week after you've seen it, because
I'll watch it.
I want to hear what you have to say. But like, what 100%. Like, I think you needed to go over the top. You know, like remember when like Triple H and Batista had their thing going on?
Yeah.
Like you were like buzzing at the moment where it's like finally Batista like is going to turn on Triple H, and that is, I think, what you wanted to do with Sol Ruca. Like everybody else sees that's a bad relationship, and Zarya's bad and a heel, and then finally you have that moment, and instead it was just kind of this like lukewarm. They both kind of turned on each other. They both cost each other championships, and they wrestled and they cost each other the world title. Like, and so you look at it, and there was nothing like definitive to push you over the edge one way or the other. Like either, wow, I really love Sol Ruca, let's cheer her, or, oh man, Zarya is the worst, let's boo her. It was just kind of all in the middle and not defined. And now you're stuck, because now, so as I said, Sol Ruca is the ultimate babyface for WWE. Like I don't know that she's got a heel bone in her. I mean, I'm sure you could work it, but that's totally not like her natural presence. And she's going to be essentially working heel in this match at Stand and Deliver, provided they don't do something to really turn this in the next week here.
No, I mean, her offense is too flashy to be a heel.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't want people cheering for the most impressive moves that you see, and that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that her offense being flashy is a bad thing, but like, you can't really put her in that position. And that's where, like, I'm curious to see on the main roster, like, she will be a big, like, focus. There's no question. But, like, I'm almost curious, like, with Zarya, like, she has that, and not just because of the spear and all this, right? But, like, she has that Braun Breaker type, kind of formula that can work on the main roster, but it's a matter of, like, what do they lean into? And so that's kind of the thing, too, is I don't think they did Zarya any favors, because I thought when she debuted, I'm thinking, okay, like they got something here. Like they've got something pretty substantial. But I feel like immediately she kind of just became more of like, again, it went into this. And so it has, and it wasn't like keeping her apart and special and kind of in that, I don't want to say Undertaker type role, but you know what I mean? She's got this presence to her to where, and I thought that would be settled in kind of at the start, but they quickly went to this pairing. And again, I think they let this go too long. And I know it's because probably you're just waiting for call-ups and all that after WrestleMania, but it'll be interesting to see where Sol Ruca, Zarya, JC Jane, like Blake Monroe, like all of them are at, I think, come May, right? Because you could certainly see that group in a position where it's a pretty crowded roster. And I mean, you're talking about potentially getting Bianca back and all this. So like those spots become kind of limited. But I don't know. I mean, there's obviously value in all of them when it comes to just kind of where they're at. So
you mentioned this, and so it's a perfect segue. We saw something a little similar with Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes on SmackDown, and you had Orton just destroy Cody. Good segment, by all accounts. Certainly like critically acclaimed, because it's just well done, like across the board. But like we talked about last week, was it too good? Like, was it too good? Was Orton too much of a badass? And we get like his explanation promo this week, and yeah, it's a little dark, it's a little twisted. There's a little bit of narcissism in it, and yet that audience was not against Randy Orton. I mean, so you talk about doing somebody to just disservice. Like, boy, Cody is screwed now, is he not?
He is. And I say this all the time, and like everybody just seems to push back on like, come on, Cody will be fine. I'm like, I
I don't
don't
know.
think you realize like they have not done him any favors. Go all the way back to January the whatever, 3rd or whenever that match was with Drew McIntyre, when McIntyre beat him.
Yeah.
I think from that point on, they have not done this guy any favors. And yes, I am willing to admit that the crowd popped huge whenever Cody won the title against
Yeah.
McIntyre, whenever, several weeks ago. They did. The arena audience was loving it. They were so excited. But like quickly now, all of a sudden, you've given them something else to be more excited about than Cody Rhodes. And it's like,
Poor Cody.
I mean, and even in the promo, right? Instead of going all the way with the Randy Orton thing of like, okay, this is a Randy you people have to hate. You cannot like this version of Randy Orton. What happened? Well, it's just the voices, the voices sometimes, and they're in my head, and he's quoting his theme song that everyone loves to sing within the promo, and he's also making it very clear that the reason he did this is because Cody asked him to.
There you go.
Cody asked him to do it. Like,
Yeah.
okay, boo. Like,
How do we
I can't
boo that?
boo
How do you
that.
boo that now? Yes.
It's just so that's the problem. And I think that's where, again, I said this before we even knew they were going to do this. Like, they do not mind making Cody the new John Cena when it comes to the audience reaction. So if they boo Cody on one night, fine. If they cheer him on another night, fine. But he's getting the reaction. He's getting the John Cena. And I think that will be magnified more as we go into this. There are going to be a lot of people in that crowd, we know, in Las Vegas, who are going to want Randy Orton to win that match. It is going to be overwhelmingly in Randy Orton's favor. Like, no question. Now, 2 weeks after that, depending on what happens, and you're in, I don't know, Des Moines, like I'm just picking a random city that came to my mind because Iowa Hawkeyes are in the Elite Eight now. They've made a magical run. But, is that going to be the same? Of course, there's going to be a lot of people who cheer Cody, probably. And so, like, pick a random city. It'll still happen. But I just think that it is one, and I don't disagree here with Atmosphere. And we were saying this before. Like, there's no way they went into this thinking that all of a sudden, that we're just going to completely turn Randy and it's all going to work out perfect. I think this is the reaction they want. And I think you can debate whether that's a good thing or not. But, yes, Sean, I mean, like, as Sean's saying too, he's saying, like, focus on the backstory between them. Randy needs to act more like a total jerk. And I think you're right. Like, and you kind of saw that with Cardona, right? But the crowd was chanting one more time.
Yeah. That
wanted to
wasn't
see him
flawless either. Yeah.
No.
Ugh.
So you got to pick your spots. And I just think that it's a hard thing to do with someone as kind of legendary in terms of like what he's been used as Randy Orton. And so you had to get to this story, and we know they may have expedited this a little bit based on shuffling the WrestleMania card around a little, but I don't know, man. It was kind of tough. So
It's tough. And what makes it even tougher, Sean says here, focus on the backstory. Randy needs to act more like a total jerk. Cody will get plenty of cheers going into that match. I mean, he will, but at WrestleMania, I mean, look, they booed the heel John Cena at WrestleMania over Cody. Like, I know he was going for 17, but to me, that's the baseline now. Like, and Randy is way more likable than Cena was. At the same time, though, now I will give them credit because I think Orton is a total babyface going into this match with Cody. And he's going to get cheered. And that is more compelling than I think what Raw has going with Roman Reigns and CM Punk. Like, I was going to start the show this week by asking you, like, hey, where are you on the overall WrestleMania card right now? And to me, like, if you look at the card on paper, you've got Cody and Orton, you've got Roman and Punk. There's your main events. You've got the 2 women's title matches, singles matches. That's pretty good. You got Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar. That's really good. Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio looks like that's coming. That'll be really good. So I think, like, the card on paper is coming together nicely. But But when you open the hood on some of these matches, that's where you see kind of like some glaring errors. And Punk and Roman, man, like I'm not sure what we're shooting at anymore with that. I mean, you're talking about being old and like it's Punk essentially calling himself a crazy old person and laughing hysterically as he's getting beat up. Like, I'm just not sure what they want the audience to be feeling or thinking going into that match. Can you focus on something positive out of that? Like, it's entertaining to watch. I can't say that it's not compelling from that angle, but it's like you watch it, it's entertaining, and then it's kind of like, okay, but now what? Like, how am I supposed to feel? Like, am I supposed to cheer this old guy, or am I supposed to cheer this jerk who's beating up this old guy? Like I can't really put my finger on what they're going for.
But I feel like that is the entire story of this WrestleMania build. It feels like we realized at the last moment that these are all the matches we need. So how do we get everybody to these matches, right? And we knew, like, the Roman thing, okay, he wins the Rumble. We knew we were off and running at that point. But it felt like that was where, I don't know, in recent years, that's like a 3-month, 4-month, 5-month thing. We know where we're going, and we're going to lay those little hints along the way. Mm-hmm. We're going to give you a little backstory along the way. Whereas now, like you said, like, okay, take the Roman and Punk thing. I'll get back to that shortly, but just a quick detour. Drew McIntyre, Jacob Fatu. Okay, they pivoted to that. What's the story of Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu? Who are we supposed to cheer? Are we supposed to cheer Jacob Fatu for trying to attack Drew McIntyre? Are we supposed to cheer McIntyre because he got screwed out of the title? And now, what are we going to do to get the most views? Well, we're just going to throw each other off of, whatever, right? Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker.
Like a high
It
rise.
was. Yeah. Like, okay, we're going to throw each other off the high rise. There's 1 million views on YouTube. Okay? Seth Rollins. We know we're kind of leading us to Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins because that was one that was kind of out of their control. But because we got to expedite the story a little bit, what can get 1 million views? Seth Rollins getting arrested. All right? Anytime you just attach, if he gets arrested, okay? Go look at the YouTube video. It's got 1 million and something views. All right, great. But like, again, story, you peel back the story on some of these, and you're just kind of like, we're just trying to hit on a lot of big moments here. And that's what it feels like with Roman and Punk. Because you throw out the line of, I'm going to bury you by your father. Okay. That thing's escalated.
Too.
Right, and that's the thing. But I feel like that is what they're going for, is like all these sort of left field type moments or these one-liners that are going to get the traction they want. And meanwhile, I'm over here looking at this and I'm like, you know what? This isn't going to be popular. And I know some people are going to completely disagree with this, but the most compelling part of this thing right now, to me, is the Roman Reigns and Jey Uso interactions. Like, I find that more compelling. And I know what that means, right? It means, here comes the bloodline. But guess what? It's still been the height of probably most of the things they've done over the past 4 or 5 years. And so I'm not saying you get to go back and do that again. I think Solo, they mentioned him on promos, right? I don't think that's done by design because this whole MFT stuff is just, gosh. It's as soon as that lantern's gone, Solo's gone. Like, he's out of there. So, they're going to bring in whoever evil and whoever else, and they're going to be kind of, doing something like that, right? So I think, and with the whole Sammy story and all this other stuff, these to me are still the most compelling figures when it comes to like this entire thing with this family. And meanwhile, I just look at, the Punk thing, and I almost am like, I don't know what to make of it, like from the story standpoint. Like, I just think that it's gone so many different directions at this point, and you have to kind of use the Usos because you're not going to have Roman every week, so I get why they've added him into the story. But, like, it's kind of become where, I want to see Roman and Punk beat each other up, but I'm also kind of fascinated by where this thing goes with Roman and Jey, and all of a sudden Jey's being the hype man for Roman Reigns, and, like, okay, like, I find that just as compelling, so.
Well, and seriously, the best part of the Roman Punk stuff has been, to me, when they've like actually talked about the match, when they've talked about the match, this is how I'm going to beat you. This is how I'm going to beat you. You're too slow. I'm stronger. I'm fast. Like that. I think
give me the old stuff. Like
the old stuff is crazy. Like I don't know. I just don't think you want to think about CM Punk as like a spitting image of old guy Terry Funk. Like it's cool in some ways, but like,
Yeah.
I mean, Terry Funk looked like a crazy old person. Like, and I don't think you want that if you're CM Punk. Plus, and Sean mentioned it up here. He says it's two big stars to them, but man, they're both acting like jerks to each other. I just don't get it either. The old stuff is ridiculous. Yeah, the fact that they both come across as so unlikable, where it's just like they were more. Roman Reigns was more of a likable guy when he was just straight up telling Punk to his face, "I hate you. I hate you for what you were." Like at least then there's honesty there. There's authenticity there. You're not just kind of being a sarcastic asshole. Like there's something real behind that. And they left that zone for just kind of like witty, jerky comments. And I think, yeah, I don't know that I don't even know what this. It's on like 6 different paths, and that's the problem.
Yeah, and that's the thing. To me, the height of this so far was the first thing they did together, and so that also becomes like, think about it. If you don't move WrestleMania back 3 weeks or something, okay, then we're there this weekend, and we're like, thankfully, let's just get to the match. But now,
it's here. Yeah,
we got 3 more weeks of this, and so like, what can you do at this point? And again, I know Roman's not. When's he advertised again? Is he advertised for MSG? Surely he would be, right?
I think he's going to be at MSG. Yeah.
So it's like, what do you do now? I mean, and that's where I think again, somehow you're not just telling this stuff with Jay unless you have a destination, right? So what does that look like? I mean, again, they're adding in all the Samoan family references and all that, which everyone's going to come back to The Rock always because they had the little thing this week. Who was it? Someone was backstage, and you're looking back there, and The Rock's just looking at him in the background because he's on one of those trucks. And if we remember, that was the whole thing they did at WrestleMania 40, where you had the truck out there in the parking lot as Rock's beating up Cody. There's John Cena. There's Steve Austin. We know Austin was supposed to be part of it. Wasn't one of the Undertaker. Yep. So they were planning all this, and so you've got to assume that having The Rock there, there's a reason for it. But I'm like, I don't know. Like, to me, again, it's just kind of become these are two unlikable guys that don't like each other. So what do I do? Okay, just let them beat each other up, and maybe somebody will give me a reason to like them afterwards. Like, that's kind of what this has become. And so even the thing like Roman did, and again, it's Roman, right? But like he was on the Jimmy Fallon show last night, and it's sort of like, Punk, you're asleep, but hey, I'm here because I'm the Hollywood star and all this other stuff. Well, I don't want CM Punk to be a Hollywood star. I don't care.
Right. Who cares? We don't. Yeah.
I mean, it's all over the place. They just got to fill time, and that's not a good thing always.
Yeah. I mean, the match is going to be a good match. I don't think. Sure. Yeah, I don't think, Sean, it's going to be a 5-star classic. But I think. I mean, look, both those guys can work, and I think Punk, even though he's not the CM Punk of 15 years ago. He can work good matches when he wants to. I mean, just look at Gunther, look at the stuff with Seth. Like it's there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. You're not going to have like that WrestleMania 40 where you have that kind of community experience of everybody's cheering for Cody, right? And you're not going to have that in either of your title matches. And so it's like, okay, that's new. That's new. Alisphere says, I'm glad you're not hoping for a 5-star classic, Sean, because you're getting a 2-star special, elevated by star and star power that they'll call epic because it'll go 20 minutes with finisher spam and kickoffs. Well, geez, Alisphere, tell us how you really feel, man. Damn. What do you think about that?
I mean, I guess my question is, do we really think this is just going to be Reigns and Punk at this point? Like, I could see this being like, there's got to be some interference somewhere. And I mean, the Usos make a lot of sense, but I'm like, I don't know. To me, like that you're giving the expectation now with Punk calling out the family and all this other stuff. Like, you're giving the expectation that someone is going to be a factor in this match, not name Roman Reigns and CM Punk. And I think there's at least some intrigue there. And even if you don't like interference, then sorry, like this probably isn't the brand for you right now.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Because
sure.
because I guess that's the thing, Zach. Like, do you really see either one of these guys just winning one-on-one straight up?
No,
I don't
I
know.
don't. I don't. I mean, to me, at this point, I think there's two potential options. One is Roman wins and he wins the world title, and you have like this happy bloodline moment in the ring to close night one. Or I think, it's almost like you get like a heel turn from Punk, and the Usos are on his side, and Punk wins, and like so they kind of see the error of Roman's ways, and he never apologized, and blah blah blah. Which, by the way, they'd all be 100% right about. But I could see it going that way too. The one thing I don't see at this point is just like a straight up Punk win. Like I don't think that. I think like out of spite, Triple H will not book that for WrestleMania. So yeah, I don't know. We'll have to, we'll see where they go. Let's pivot to AEW here real quick before we wrap up. We got the main event of Dynasty on this week's episode of Dynamite. Kenny Omega defeats Swerve Strickland in a really good match to become the number one contender. And then him and MJF make it official later in the show. We're going to get MJF. We're going to get Omega. God versus what did he call himself? The Devil. Right. The Devil versus
and God.
Devil and God. At Dynasty. This is a pretty big match for AEW. I think this will do some good business for them.
God, look at this card. You're just like,
man,
this is just the amount of is just wild to think. Like these are all the possibilities that they have to work with right now when you look at the card as a whole. But again, I'll continue to say I think the best thing that AEW is doing right now, bar none, in my opinion, is the holding the prestige of the title above everything else. And to me, that means everyone, and I've always thought this is like something that I've always bought into in terms of like the old school thinking here, that everyone should be aiming for the top title. Everyone. Even if I'm a lesser champion, even if I'm Kyle Fletcher, even if I'm whoever, if I'm Jack Perry, like I should always be aiming for the top championship. And so I love that instead of doing, backstage attacks every 5 minutes or, just having comedy segments or cute little, exchanges here or there, they're doing more of the Mike Bailey, I'm coming for the championship, basically, right? You're establishing different people that all want to be in this stratosphere of MJF right now. And I think that's why every single match he does, and now knowing it's going to be Omega, which, like you said, it's a huge match to do at Dynasty, there's so much to work with here. And I just feel like by having that being the theme for everyone that is within this circle right now, whether it's MJF, whether it's Omega, Swerve obviously is going to be in the factor, Ospreay, again, Bailey, Kevin Knight, like you keep going down the line. They're establishing so many people, Fletcher, like these are all people who feel like they're going to find a way. Darby Allin, they've set that tone now. So it's like, I love that aspect. Again, there are things that with AEW that, sure, it's not my cup of tea, but to me, this is one of the best things they've ever done. And because it sets up a sort of unpredictable picture of where you go next. And I think that's a good thing. Because again, it's MJF versus Kenny Omega. There's lots of possible outcomes here, right? So
for sure. And I really enjoy that about AEW right now too. They got everything pointed at the world titles, and that even like you mentioned Kyle Fletcher. He cuts a backstage promo as TNT champion. But he's still able to weave in the fact that this is great and all, but I'm still looking at that. I'm looking at that title. I'm looking at the big title. I think that's essential, and it's one of the things that show is really good with right now. I totally agree with you. getting some Tekla banter. I'm a big fan of what Tekla is doing. Sean says here, another weaker episode of Dynamite. Zach, I'm sorry, but Tekla isn't as over as you're saying. The women's division is in a tough spot. So we'll talk Toni Storm here in a second. But like, break the tie here on Tekla. Like, I find her to be, more compelling, I feel like, than most, because she's so different from everybody else that's on that show. Like, I just find myself being like, damn, what's Tekla doing? Like, and being drawn to her work because it's different. Maybe I'm putting too much stock in that, though.
No, I think you have to be different because I think that's the only thing that's going to set you apart. I think she has energy to her as well that I feel like just kind of resonates sometimes when you're just watching someone who feels like they are just a loose cannon, basically. And it's like, kind of at any time you're thinking, okay, there's a cerebral style, but then there's like that loose cannon aspect of like she can just come out and just annihilate you at any time. And so I think it is like it's that, and of course, like it's part of the catchphrase, it's part of the name, right? And so I think it's just sort of she's someone who I think again has a different sort of appeal to her that in this role I think she can thrive, and I think she already has. And I think that's where again you were looking kind of the direction for Statlander and all that. Like she, I think, was searching for kind of what is that character that I can really kind of lean into, and you just don't know if it ever got there. And so now, like you said, if we're looking at the Toni Storm situation and we're trying to figure out, okay, what does this look like? Then, I mean, what are like your top options at this point outside of just what I think would be the obvious number one in Mercedes Moné? But like, I don't think Tekla by any means is dragging the women's division down. I'm not saying that Sean necessarily said that, but like, I don't think she's doing anything to hurt the division. I think it's just sort of, you're trying to, again, take a chance on someone who came in pretty hot. And now I feel like she is one of the more kind of over people that are there. So
for sure, yeah, I do too. And Dave Meltzer reported this morning that the plan was Toni Storm against Tekla coming out of the Marina Shafir feud. Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer reported that Storm was scheduled to win the match that she was supposed to have against Marina Shafir last week on Dynamite, the no holds barred match. But then she was pulled from that match, and we don't know why. There's a lot of rumor out there, but we really don't know why. But it sounds like she's going to miss some time here, and Tekla, I think, can help fill the hole that Toni Storm's leaving. I think Mercedes Moné can help fill that hole. At the same time, though, I mean, you're going to miss Toni Storm if she's out for a prolonged period of time for whatever reason that is.
No.
You don't just replace a star like that overnight. And she's been a regular and important part of Dynamite for years now.
Yeah, exactly. That she's one of your most over stars, period. And I think it's like you can't replace that easily. Yeah. And so I mean, I think with where they're at right now, like I feel like sometimes like you do need a bit of an ebb and flow too when it comes to like title holders. Like it can't always just be, okay, we go from the number one star to the number two star back to the number one star. And it's like, you have to be able to try to find ways to establish people. And I think by putting the title on Tekla and letting her have some of these matches she's had, that's giving her more credibility when it comes to, okay, that's how you establish someone is kind of at that level. So
I have a name that main event for you.
Oh, yes.
And I couldn't tell whether or not in my head this is like just a random ass main event. But it also may give away the show because you'll see here in a minute. But I wasn't sure, but I wanted to bring it up just because it's such a random show. Okay. The main event that I speak of, John Cena defeats R-Truth for the WWE Championship. That is your main event. Ooh. That is what Vince McMahon asked people to shell out $50 for on this date in 2011?
I was gonna say 20. It was going to either go 2010 or 2011. So we're in the same time frame. Was it WWE Capital Punishment in Washington D.C.?
Capital Punishment, the one and only
Ah.
WWE Capital Punishment. Well done.
See, I thought it was Cena and Laurinaitis at Capital. That was my first thought, but I think they wrestled at some other, maybe in like Over the Limit or something, maybe that year. I don't know why I remember that stretch so well, but like, boy, was it brutal to think back on now. So,
dude,
yeah.
so this card, like, okay, so this was a total one-off event. So they never ran this back. This was like R-Truth was a heel, like an actual heel here for this. And this is the card, if you can believe it. So it's Santino Marella and Vladimir Kozlov against Heath Slater and Justin Gabriel. There's your opening. That's your opening match.
Wow. I got
Then you have Dolph Ziggler against Kofi Kingston for the United States Championship. I don't remember that, but no reason to think it was terrible.
Yeah.
Alex Riley against The Miz.
Oh, yeah.
That went 10 minutes.
Wow. That probably wasn't great.
All right, you had Alberto Del Rio against The Big Show. Ezekiel Jackson against Wade Barrett.
Oh, my goodness.
Then you had to run up some a couple good matches here. CM Punk against Rey Mysterio. Can't imagine that was bad. And then Randy Orton against Christian. They had a good set of matches for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yes.
But then you went back to not so good. Evan Bourne against Jack Swagger, and then John Cena in the main event. So co-main Evan Bourne against Jack Swagger.
This was a $50. Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah, this is not one of the WWE Network shows where like you just got it. You had to shell out some hard-earned money for that one.
Surely I didn't do that, but in all honesty, I probably did. I know myself. I probably did. At that point, I was probably trying to scrounge up the money to watch John Cena and R-Truth for the championship, and
you gotta know.
You had to know who won that semi-main event too.
I mean, I don't know, man. Like this, I'm looking at this card, and I'm like, dude. You look at this card, and then you look at like Elimination Chamber, and just the match quality, the talent level, like is just it's obscene compared to this. Like compared to this time. I mean, it was Cena and Orton, and then kind of. I mean, yes, you had some good workers there, Ray's there, and all that, but at this time, Ray isn't the Ray of now. Like he's just mid card guy. He's like mid card. Rey Mysterio at this point.
Everybody was 50-50. Like there was never any sort of like established tier beyond like your top 3 or 4, and it just like everybody was the same after that. Everybody's just trading wins and losses, and ultimately no one means anything. So yes, for as much as we criticize WWE in the build to WrestleMania 42, I'm going to be okay with that card versus this. So yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Listening to the main event. We do it every week right here on Pro Wrestling Weekly. Thank you guys so much for being here. Appreciate it. Thanks for moving with us to Friday this week to accommodate some schedules. We'll be back next week on Thursday, 12 Eastern. Same time, same place, right here on the Takedown on SI on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you do that. Like this video. It helps us out. Appreciate it. And we'll have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and enjoy basketball if you're going to watch basketball. And we'll catch you guys next time. For Blake, I'm Zach. See you.